I remember in school being told the story of Robin Hood and his merry men. My teacher thought it was a wonderful story of a romantic hero who robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. My rich dad did not see Robin Hood as a hero. He called Robin Hood a crook. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Reading with Menno. So we are reading the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I have to hold it up to my face because otherwise the Zoom background doesn't recognize what is going on. We are at chapter 4, which is very exciting. This is the part that I've been talking about a lot. The fact that if you think differently, if you figure out how the rules work, you can create almost any circumstances for yourself. Or as a very good friend of mine says very often, if you understand the rules, you can make the rules work in your favor. And if you are the one making the rules, then you can do just about anything. So it is really, really exciting. So lesson 4, chapter 4, the history of taxes and the power of corporations. My rich dad just played the game smart, and he did it through corporations, the biggest secret of the rich. Let's get into it. I know you have goals to achieve today, and I'm looking forward to doing some reading to get your day started off really, really well. Let's do this. I remember in school being told the story of Robin Hood and his merry men. My teacher thought it was a wonderful story of a romantic hero who robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. My rich dad did not see Robin Hood as a hero. He called Robin Hood a crook. Robin Hood may be long gone, but his followers live on. Often still hear people say, "Why don't the rich pay for it?" Or "the rich should pay more in taxes and give it to the poor." It is this Robin Hood fantasy, or taking from the rich to give to the poor, that has caused the most pain for the poor and middle class. The reason the middle class is so heavily taxed is because of the Robin Hood ideal. The reality is that the rich are not taxed. It's the middle class, especially the educated upper income middle class, who pays for the poor. Again, to fully understand how things happen, we need to look at the history of taxes. Although my highly educated dad was an expert on the history of education, my rich dad fashioned himself as an expert on the history of taxes, because that's where a lot of the money goes to. So I think somebody posted on my Facebook this morning and said that it's January 5 and most of the wealthiest people have already made more up until this point in time than everybody else will make for the rest of the year. So they've already made as much as everybody else will make for the rest of the year. And some of them might even have made more than some of the people out there. But the idea is that if you can understand how these things work, if you understand taxation, and if you can think in a slightly different way, all these different possibilities open up to you. Rich Dad explained to Mike and me that originally in England and America, there were no taxes. Occasionally, there were temporary taxes levied in order to pay for wars. The king or the president would put the word out and ask everybody to chip in. Taxes were levied in Britain for the fight against Napoleon from 1799 to 1816, and in America to pay for the Civil War from 1861 to 1865. In 1874, England made income tax a permanent levy on its citizens. In 1930, the income tax became permanent in the United States with the adoption of the 16th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. At one time, Americans were anti-tax. It had been the tax on tea that led to the famous Tea Party in Boston Harbor, an incident that helped ignite the Revolutionary War. It took approximately 50 years in both England and the United States to sell the idea of a regular income tax. So we went from tax is something that happens only when we need it, to tax being something that is permanent and happening all the time. And it took quite a bit of time for everybody to be able to get used to the idea, but it was pushed down people's throats for so long that eventually people accepted it. What these historical dates fail to reveal is that both of these taxes were initially levied against only the rich. It was this point that Rich Dad wanted Mike and me to understand. He explained that the idea of taxes was made popular and accepted by the majority by telling the poor and the middle class that taxes was created only to punish the rich. This is how the masses voted for the law, and it became constitutionally legal. Although it was intended to punish the rich, in reality it wound up punishing the very people who voted for it the poor and the middle class who thought that it was not going to touch them. So they voted and said yes to something that they thought they would be safe from. And then, I don't know if we should go into the politics, but as soon as everybody votes it in, all of a sudden they can then change the rules. As I said, the person who creates the rules can do whatever they like. Once government got a taste of money, its appetite grew, said Rich Dad. Your dad and I are exactly opposite. He's a government bureaucrat and I'm a capitalist. We get paid and our success is measured on opposite behaviors. He gets paid to spend money and hire people. The more he spends, the more people he hires. The larger his organization becomes. In the government, a large organization is a respected organization. On the other hand, within my organization, the fewer people I hire and the less money I spend, the more I am respected by my investors. That's why I don't like government people. They have different objectives than most business people. As the government grows, more and more tax dollars are needed to support it. And it is actually very interesting because this is quite relevant at this point. So there used to be bird feces in Peru that was sold to Europe for fertilizer. And at one point, they started running a little bit lower, but the Peruvians thought this would go on forever. And as prices went up, they kept increasing government spending. And at one point, they ran out of it. And Europe was distraught because they couldn't buy it. And they also thought it was getting way too expensive anyhow. So they created artificial fertilizer. They created synthetic fertilizer, oil-based. And so they stopped buying from Peru, and Peruvians had these high expenses because they were paying their public servants so much money. But unfortunately, yes, they had to start economizing and reducing the amount of expenses that they were paying. And so their economy completely crashed because they had lots of money coming in from these fertilizer sales, and all of a sudden, no income coming in. And it is very interesting because the same thing is happening in China at the moment. So government workers have had their bonuses completely canceled. And a lot are complaining that they are not able to live with the new incomes, which are sometimes 25%, sometimes 30% less than what they were receiving before. And so a similar thing is happening in China. They had lots of revenues coming in. The real estate market was going crazy. If you do some research into the Chinese real estate market, it's very interesting how they ran and how speculative their real estate market is. And we can make a video and talk about that at some stage as well if you're interested. But they've had to cut those expenditures because they no longer have the money to be able to pay their public servants so much money. Yes, my educated dad simply believed that government should help people. He loved John F. Kennedy and especially the idea of the Peace Corps. He loved the idea so much that both he and my mom worked for the Peace Corps, training volunteers to go to Malaysia, Thailand, and the Philippines. He always strived for additional grants and budget increases so he could hire more people, both in his job with the education department and in the Peace Corps. From the time I was 10 years old, I would hear from my rich dad that government workers were a pack of lazy thieves. And from my poor dad, I would hear how the rich were greedy crooks who should be made to pay more taxes. Both sides had valid points. It was difficult to go to work for one of the biggest capitalists in town and come home to a father who was a prominent government leader. It was not easy to know which dad to believe. So I'm going to leave it at that for today, but it's a really great start, and it becomes very interesting to see the difference between how the rich think and the poor think, the history of what has happened to them. And I think that last passage, there is a lot of valid points on both sides. Government does get very big and very bloated, and they don't do things very efficiently because they know that they have the money and the means to be able to do things. Whereas from a business point of view, if you spend too much, your business isn't going to survive for very long, which is the opposite of what the government is able to do. So this is a really great start to chapter 4, and I'm looking forward to getting deeper into it so you can see how you can think differently and act differently in order to be able to get ahead. Now, Robert Kiyosaki himself has distanced himself a little bit with some of the things that have been going on recently with regards to his capitalism, because he thinks even that is getting a little bit out of hand, which has been very interesting to see. But from a survival point of view, if we want to be able to achieve our goals, look after our families, and do what we need to do, it is still important to, we live in this system. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't escape the capitalist system that we live in because it is just very, very entrenched. And unless you go out into the bush somewhere, you're going to be living in the system. So it's important to learn how the system works and do what you can in order to be able to create your own opportunities so that you can thrive in this environment, because there's not a lot of places that you can escape to otherwise. So if you've missed any of the other chapters of this reading series, if you'd like to see my commentary and my reading of Rich Dad Poor Dad from the beginning, you can go to YouTube and you can access that at the Passive Cash Flow Club, which is our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe, because we don't only do these videos, but we also have some other videos with information about the stock market, real estate, and business on there. So make sure you subscribe and you will be notified when new videos go up. I also run the Rich Dad, or the Robert Kiyosaki, should I say, Cash Flow Club here in Sydney, because it's a great way for you to be able to take the lessons from the book and then start applying them and learning how they work. We've also created an online version which gives it even more realism than just the game itself. If you're interested in that, if you'd like to reach out, if you'd like to leave a comment, let me know whether you've read the book, what your experiences are, whether you're already investing or not. There's always a next level that you can go to. And you can reach me personally at Instagram, and you can find me there, business_team_the6_official. So not number, NUMBER, just the Roman numeral 6. So business_team_6_official. And you can find me there, reach out, see what I'm up to. And I'd love to hear your comments and your thoughts there as well. And if you're interested in the cash flow game, and it doesn't have to be in Sydney because we're international now since we got that online version, then send me a message on Instagram, and I would love to get my VA to send you the details and have a game of cash flow with you and discuss some of these things about a Rich Dad Poor Dad, maybe some tax things, maybe some ideas on how to get you investing or invest more effectively, because I am very passionate about seeing as many people as possible in 2022 take the lessons from books like this and implement them in real life. Because I used to have a cafe, I used to run the Cash Flow Club at the cafe, and a lot of people would learn the game and play the game, but they would never implement it in real life. I'd ask them, what have you done since learning about the stocks and the real estate and the business and all of these different things? And generally, they just still go to their work and do nothing about it. So it can be different for you, whether you are already investing and want to improve, or whether you are a beginning investor. That is something that you can take control of with the right group of people. And whether it's us or somebody else, but make sure that you surround yourself with the right people that are going to be able to help you to achieve your goals and dreams. Speaking of those, let's all go out and work on our goals and fulfill those tasks that are going to get us a step closer to our goals. Have an amazing day, and I'm looking forward to seeing you for some more of Rich Dad Poor Dad Chapter 4.